So I just got this 97, 98 Japanese made Stratocaster ST 68 model. It's got like the vintage style bridge, all this good stuff. Not a whole ton of fretware. It's got the big headstock. Pretty cool guitar. But one thing I noticed is that the bridge saddles here are like way, way, way low, which doesn't really like impact the playability of the guitar, except for those pieces are like poking me in the hand. I rest my hand kind of like here a lot. And so with the heel of my hand on it, it's super uncomfortable. I just don't like this. So I'm going to show you how to fix that problem. I've done it a couple of times. And what we're going to do is just very gently adjust the neck angle by installing a shim. So I'm going to show you how to do that. The tools you will need are right here. Screwdrivers, Phillips head screwdrivers. You'll need to make sure that you have an Allen wrench, a little Allen wrench here that will fit these very, very perfectly. So if you have an Allen wrench and it slips at all in there, find another one. Find the one that fits the most snug. That will save you a whole bunch of trouble in the long run. The same goes with these screwdrivers. We're going to need to use a screwdriver to take off the bolts that hold the neck on the back, and you want to make absolutely sure that your screwdriver fits really tight. Otherwise, it could strip that screw and you'll be in all kinds of trouble. So I'm going to go ahead and take her apart and show you how to do this. All right, so to do this, I'm going to go ahead and take off the neck bolts. I've already taken one of them off. To do this, you just want to make sure, again, that you've got a Phillips head screwdriver that fits really tight in the slot there. You do not want this to slip. You don't want to strip those screws. You'll feel like a major dumbass, and it's no good. All right, so here we go. I'm going to just get a good firm start here. You don't want to use a power drill. That's something that you might be, you might be tempted to do that. Don't do it, because you risk stripping that screw, and that is a major, huge dumbass mistake. We can't be friends if you do that. I may or may not have done that before. Okay, so sometimes you gotta make the mistakes to learn. Notice that I'm pinching this shut with my hand here, just so that the neck doesn't fall when I get this the rest of the way apart. All right. You can feel that, super loose. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and take these parts away from each other, and I'll show you how to do the shim next. Okay, so went ahead and took the neck off, and what I've got here is the neck pocket. It says STB67EX2. For those of you who are like into that kind of thing, I'm not sure what that means. I think it means this is like a 67 maybe reissue Strat from Japan. And then it says the same thing here on the neck heel. Well, it's probably backwards for you, but you get the idea. All right. So what I did was I took a piece of cardboard and I used a pair of scissors, went ahead and cut a small strip of cardboard, and I just pushed the neck bolts through, and then use my fingers to kind of press it into place. This is period correct vintage cardboard, so it will ensure the best tone and all that, in case you were worried. So I made sure to take care of that. What I'm going to do is put the neck back in there. So when you do this drives me nuts. You got to be very careful. You don't want to create a you don't want to try to You don't want to create any leverage where you break these little thin pieces of wood on the body here. That's something you can do. That's a dumbass thing. Don't do that. The other thing I wanted to say about shims real quickly too is that a little bit goes a really, really, really long way with your shim. And my vintage cardboard is kind of thick, so if it might be too much. If that's the case, I'm going to have to take this out. Another note, if you put the shim on the higher screws instead of the lower screws, that'll actually have the opposite effect. So instead of your neck angle, because right now our neck angle is too far this way, and this is way exaggerated. Or I'm sorry, it's too far this way, which is way, way exaggerated. So we are putting a shim here to bump this up a little bit, bring this heel up to compensate for that. If you have the opposite issue where it's too far back, then you'll find that no matter how high you put your saddles, you still buzz out here. And I've had that same issue. If you got that problem, just do this exact process, but do it on the higher bolts. And it's a miracle. When you put this in, very carefully, just make sure it fits. We're not forcing anything. We are gently pushing it into the slot so that it fits nice and snug. When we pick up the guitar, we are going to go ahead and screw everything back together and then put the strings on and see how she turns out. So let's get to work. All right, so we got the strings on. As you can see, we got at least one full turn on each one. 2 on that one, couple. I do a little bit more on the higher strings, and it's just good to do that for a couple of reasons. Like, my favorite reason is because there are some times where you got to take your strings off to do some guitar surgery, and it's nice to have enough slack to be able to save the string. Some people say it gives you more tuning stability. I don't know about that. My good friend Kevin, rest in peace, Kevin, wherever you are, he used to really strongly believe that the more turns you had there, the better your tone would be. Not sure if there's any science to support that. These are not on there very tight, and the reason for that is because I've noticed this thing, that doesn't play, frets out on every single string, and that's exactly what I wanted, because what I'm going to have to do is tighten these. There they are. These little bad boys here, in order to bring the strings up enough to where they don't fret out on the frets. In turn, these won't be so tall and they will stop poking me in the hand. So I am going to just simply use this Allen wrench that I found in my parts drawer. I am going to put it in there very carefully, make sure that it fits well. And once I've ensured that, I am going to very carefully tighten these up. This looks like it actually does not fit. So I'm going to have to, see, now here's the trap you can fall into right here. This like kind of fits, but kind of doesn't. So if you try to rush it, you might just think you can get away with just kind of twisting on that. Do not do that, because you can round out the inside of this thing and then you can't turn it at all. So I'm going to find an Allen wrench that fits correctly, and I'm going to go ahead and get this thing fixed. All right, so what I have done is I have adjusted all of those posts. And so you can see now they're way further recessed in there. There's still a little bit sticking up, but like, you know, I can live with that. And I'm still going to have to fine tune everything. I always find that when I do this, then I have to play it for a while, and then I'll make little micro adjustments for like the next week or so until it's where I like it. To radius the strings and set the string height, I did something very complicated and sophisticated. All right, so brace yourself. I took a business card and I cut it so that it was wide enough to fit at the 12th fret here. Then I used some masking tape and taped it so that it follows the arc of the fretboard. So I didn't like pinch it, you know, tight. It just kind of follows the arc, or the radius, if you will, of this fretboard. And so then what I did, because see, your fretboard is rounded on the top, in case you didn't know. And so you have to set your string height so that it compensates for the fact that your fretboard is round. So anyway, This is a really quick way to kind of do that. It's not like an end-all be-all, but it gets you right in the ballpark. And you just do it enough to where if you pluck a string, see, I can hear it barely buzzing on the tape. So then I just adjust the action just a hair higher at a time. Just a little bit until I do not hear it buzzing on the tape anymore. So this one's like super close. Right about probably there. Should do it. Maybe a tiny bit if you hit it hard. And so anyway, that will end up giving you kind of at least a decent starting place for your action. But yeah, this has definitely solved the problem. The neck shim is a really good way to go if you're having issues with your angle. Mine wasn't super severe. It was just to the point where this was uncomfortable. But there are times, again, where you can max this out one way or the other, and it still doesn't solve fret buzzing or a lack of playability up here. So this shim trick is a real quick, easy way to do that, and you don't have to go to a luthier. Pretty simple. So there you go. Have fun. Oh, and also, real quick, there's a lot of purists who are super anti-shimming. Don't be scared to shim. It's a thing that happens. People do it all the time. Like, get over yourself. Nothing wrong with a shim. All right. Have a great rest of your weekend.